I usually don't comment on current gaming events too much, especially not the more mainstream stuff, but today I will do that and talk a little about the Nintendo Switch Lite. People are going on about the Lite's lack of features like the integrated controller, removal of TV connectivity, and no rumble, but I won't focus on that too much. They are valid discussion points, but I want to approach the console from a different angle. In this video, I want to talk about the timing of the release, as well as what I think Nintendo is trying to achieve with bringing out this model, and what kind of buyers Nintendo is targeting. The Nintendo Switch Lite, as of this video, is coming out at the end of the month, September 20th, 2019. The Switch Lite is a stripped-down version of the regular Switch. It's smaller due to the screen, 5.5 inches versus 6.2. My Nokia 6.1 has a 5.5-inch screen, so imagine that with a Joy-Con on each side. People are saying it's a more pocketable design, which I suppose is true since it's smaller. Since I don't leave the house without my wallet, phone, and keys, my pocket real estate is already used up though. While TV out isn't a thing with the Switch Lite, it does retain other functionality like motion sensors, so you can still flail your console around when you're playing Splatoon 2 in public. The micro SD card slot remains as well. The Switch Lite is very similar to the Nintendo 2DS in concept. It lowers the barrier of entry. Take the regular console, get rid of functions some people don't need, and cut costs. Here in Canada, a Switch costs $400, while the Lite is $260, making it $140 cheaper. You could almost buy 2 games with the money you save. So who are the people that will buy the Switch Lite? The first demographic that comes to my mind are parents. This is also why the timing of the release is just right. Parents will buy it before Christmas, and a copy of the new Pokemon game for their kid, and it's cheaper than a regular Switch. Since children have smaller hands, a smaller and lighter handheld might be preferable too. The lack of removable parts like the little stand and the Joy-Con is also something parents look for. I mean, it's no secret that kids can be rough on electronics. If kids manage to somehow snap the top screen off their 3DS, they'll probably manage to rip off the Joy-Con controllers somehow. Another demographic this system might appeal to is 3DS gamers who have the system primarily for Pokemon. This is why the Lite is going to have a special edition Pokemon Sword and Shield version. Spending the money on the regular Switch just to play Pokemon games is something some people just aren't willing to do. Also, this demographic is likely to not mind the lack of TV support, since all other mainline Pokemon titles were for handheld consoles before anyway. I'm not one of those people, by the way. I'm actually so pleased that I can play Pokemon with a regular controller on a bigger screen. Of course, it's not just people who play Pokemon, but anyone who bought a 3DS for, reasons people buy 3DSs for. It's just that people who play Pokemon are the biggest collective group of that group, if that makes sense. Other developers who made 3DS games are now also putting out games on the Switch. Fire Emblem is a good example. The next demographic is so obvious I was contemplating not even mentioning it. It's people who travel a lot. Of course, a Switch Lite would be an attractive thing in that situation. Technically, both Switches work well for travel, but obviously some people would like the smaller form factor of the Lite. The next demographic may be considered a bit ironic. It's people who primarily play mobile games on cell phones. Initially, that was the other way around, with cell phones snapping market share away from the DS and 3DS. Of course, the PSP and Vita can be counted as well in that regard. The Switch Lite has the potential of poaching a few people here and there. Since there is a market for arcade stands and docks as well as controllers for cell phones, it's clear to see that there are people who play a lot of mobile games that want a more tactile gaming experience. The Switch Lite is the size of a smartphone, making the form factor easy to transition to. There are many mobile games that have been ported to the Switch, and a touchscreen ensures that you can play as if it was a smartphone, but with the ability to use the controller as well. And here's a bit of a crossover demographic. Parents often give their usually younger children a tablet or maybe an old smartphone to play around with. In those situations, it's not unrealistic to think that parents might want to replace said mobile device with a Nintendo Switch Lite. It doesn't have a web browser, so little kids won't end up browsing sketchy sites. It still has YouTube, and the system has relatively easy-to-use parental controls. For parents, especially ones that aren't super knowledgeable when it comes to tech, the Switch is much easier to make child-proof. Besides, as children become older, they'll probably want to start playing video games that aren't mobile games anyway. Let's talk about the timing of the Nintendo Switch Lite's release, which I think is just right from the company's point of view. Not only is it the right time of year, but it's also the right time in terms of the console's life cycle. The Switch first came out early 2017, which as of right now is over 2 years ago. It's always best to release a more affordable console a few years into its life cycle in order to maximize profits. If the Switch Lite came out around the same time, or let's say within a year of the Switch's release, it would have taken sales away from the regular, more expensive Switch. Early adopters buy things that are new, so it's best not to give them a more affordable option and encourage them to spend less money. And for people who want a Switch but can't afford one, 2 years provides an opportunity for them to save up money and purchase the console. So that's another situation where providing a cheaper option would rob the company of profits. So that means that the Switch Lite is a way to get remaining holdouts to buy the system. People who are on the fence are converted into buyers, and people who weren't going to buy a regular Switch are suddenly potential buyers, which is a really important thing for a company, more so than you might think. I used to work a job where I often needed to design things for a pharmaceutical company that makes all kinds of medication for chronic illnesses and conditions. Glamorous, I know. What they did was fund and sponsor various patient advocacy groups that encourage people who suffer from chronic illnesses to seek treatment. The thing is, here in Canada, this pharmaceutical company couldn't put their name, logo, or products on any of the material as advertisement. So, despite the very slim chances that their medication ends up being prescribed to a patient, the company spends a lot of time and effort to create that opportunity. So the next time you see and dismiss a redesign or variation of a console, or any device, try and think about what the company is trying to achieve. What kind of opportunity are they trying to create for themselves, and what sort of market are they trying to tap into? There's always intent and purpose beneath the surface that isn't always immediately evident. So that's my reasoning as to why I think the Nintendo Switch Lite's release is well timed for Nintendo. Personally, I don't have much practical use for it, but I do like it as an object to possess. Something about how it looks, the way it's presented and marketed, and the color options give it a real fun and youthful appearance. The regular Switch, even with colorful controllers attached to it, just looks more clinical and serious. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I can appreciate how even small alterations can make a big difference visually. Now, what I want to know is, what do you think of the Nintendo Switch Lite? I'm curious to see whether your situation falls in line with the demographics I mentioned earlier. Thank you to all the Patreon supporters. You can become a supporter too and get some perks like getting access to videos before they come out, exclusive news, and you can even get your name on the end card. Check out the Patreon page for more info. If subscriptions aren't your thing, but still want to support the channel in a different way, check out the merch store. Link is in the description, and of course you'll find links to all sorts of things there too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.